Thanks for tuning in to the MMA Podcast. It is July 10th, 2013. We're talking MMA shit. More specifically, we're talking UFC 162. Chris Weidman. If you didn't listen to the UFC 162 post-fight podcast, we're going to be talking more about Silva Weidman because it really was the fight to talk about so far of the year, maybe of the last few years. Chris Weidman dethroning the King. We also have a bunch of other fights from there. Frankie Edgar putting on a show, Cub Swanson, Mark Munoz, all putting on shows. We also have the week in MMA, a lot to talk about this week. The 51st episode. We got Ramses, Ross, the gang's all here. Let's do it.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
And thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can call in 213-457-3380. You can Skype us at the MMA Podcast. Tweet us at the MMA Podcast. Visit the MMApodcast.com. Yao is not hopped on the call yet. He's been training hard. He's got a Grappler's Quest competition in about a week and a half. But you can follow him on Twitter and Instagram, Yao, YAO, _ the truth. We also got Ramses and Ross. Ramses, I've asked you a million times. I'm going to ask you again. What is the motherfucking word on the street?
You got to follow the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. I'm bringing you the latest shit. And lately it has been nothing but shit, people. We're about to get into it. But props to Jake for hitting that drop perfectly. Just a little radio note there. I noticed that you timed it perfectly with the chorus, with the intro music. Nice job, son. Word on the street.
I try. Ross, where Ross is dropping UFC posters. This man is truly the Braulio Estima black belt level of Photoshop. Where do we follow you on Twitter?
You can get me on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L, all Jewishly. You know the shtick by now.
Word to your mother. I think we're trying to add Yao to the call now, but I already gave him his plugs. So we will move on to really the topic that everyone's been talking about the last few days. Oh, there he is, Yao the truth. You with us?
Yes, sir.
Maybe not. I already plugged you on Twitter and Instagram, so you don't need to worry about that. But I was just saying we are getting in, and I thank you for calling in. We are getting back to Silva Weidman. We can't back off that topic. One of the most notable things to happen in the sport in the last few years. So, we sort of talked about it briefly on the Word on the Street podcast, and we all had pretty interesting reactions. The order we'll go with tonight, Ramses, Ross, Yao. Simply, what was your reaction when Chris connected that left, sent Anderson down to the mat, and Herb Dean stopped the fight with a minute 18 into the second round? Ramses?
Well, honestly, my reaction leading up to it, that whole second round, it was so fucking, the fight was playing out so goofy. I knew something was up, alright? Something crazy was going on there. It was too weird, so that was the feeling I got. I honestly expected a miracle knockout from Anderson. I thought he was actually just going to one-punch knockout Chris Weidman. I thought Weidman was going to take a dive. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but it's unfortunate that I was wrong, but the exact opposite happened. And I just thought to myself, that was total bullshit. It immediately looked to me like Anderson Silva did not even attempt to fight the man. So I was a little surprised at that. But I was not surprised that it was a work. And that's what I'm calling it. Ross?
You see, I don't agree. I do not think at all it was a work. It's pretty clear that it's not a work. There's lots of evidence. I mean, there's no evidence to prove it's a work. But as for the fight itself, my initial reaction was I will admit I was a bit nervous in that second round when Chris was not showing any signs of shooting a takedown. I mean, it only lasted, a minute, 18 seconds, so you can't really gauge anything from there, but I thought he would try and take him down immediately. Kind of the Chael thing, you know, how Chael just immediately went for that takedown over and over and over again. I thought that's what he was going to do in that second round. But when he landed that beautiful combination, oh my God, the left-right, right-left combination while Anderson was doing the rolling. And if you go back and watch the footage, you can look and you put it in slow motion. You can see Anderson turn his head each time, and then you see him make the mistake, and it's beautiful to watch. And once he landed that punch, I went crazy, and it truly is one of the best moments in MMA history.
Yeah, about the Silva and Weidman fight. To get back to the question, what was my reaction when he landed the left hook? I did not speak for about 30 to 40 minutes after it happened. I was still in shock and sad and slowly moving into a depressed state. My mind was just, focused on that fight. I didn't even speak at all. So that was my initial reaction.
Yeah, a lot of people had varied reactions. Mine was just a what the fuck just happened? And because the result was just so out of the blue and something that no one expected, a lot of people are calling it work, not necessarily on the UFC's behalf, but saying that Anderson Silva did not want the fight. He wanted to get knocked out, which is a pretty silly theory to take, especially thinking he just signed a 10-fight contract. But you know what? Ramses can explain his theories better than I can. Sum up why you don't think Anderson Silva necessarily was trying his hardest, Ramses.
Oh yeah, man. You might as well cue the damn music. I will tell you exactly what happened here. There is no question that Anderson Silva threw the fight. No question at all, people. It was a conspiracy on the behalf of the fucking Silva camp, at least in Anderson Silva's crazy head. Look, the good part about a good conspiracy theory is that you get to just pick and choose whatever you want after the fact to make your conspiracy theory make sense. And let me tell you what I got so far, people. Alright, Anderson Silva drops the belt to a guy who is from New York when the UFC is just begging to have it. That's the last holdout to get it legalized in New York, getting MMA legalized in New York. Now we have a champion. Everyone's going to be rooting for it. The public is swayed. Even Ross is telling me Chris Weidman is the talk of the town. Every 5 minutes you're hearing his name. He's the hometown hero. He's putting the state back on the map. And it's just going to shed some more light on the fact that Sheldon Silver and his cronies are trying to keep MMA out of it because of the goddamn culinary union. Fuck them. Now this fight changes everything, alright, people. Chris Weidman knocks Anderson Silva out when Anderson Silva wasn't even attempting to fight back. He was just clowning, no countering at all. That's his trademark. Usually he hits you back with something, but not this time, people. He took a dive. There's no question about it, all right? Why would he do it? The money's all in the rematch. He just signed a 10-fight win streak at what he was worth as a champion. Now he loses his first fight, coincidentally, after this new contract. Come on, people. You do the fucking math. If you were the UFC, if you were Anderson Silva, what would you do to make the most money? This rematch is already being hyped as the biggest rematch in UFC history by Dana White, Joe Rogan, Anderson Silva, and Chris Weidman. People, the fix is in. You've been hoodwinked. You've been bamboozled. And that's all I gotta say. What's up, Ross? That's right. Silence, people.
You with us, Ross?
Nothing.
Damn, Ross.
Yeah,
stuck in his tracks.
Wait, what was the question again?
I'm really high. Was it a work? Did Anderson Silva want to get knocked out, or was he really out there? Was all this clowning around just that, or is it a sound strategy? What's going on, cocksucker?
It was not a work at all. If you watch the fight back, you can tell it wasn't a work. If you look at Jake actually linked me to a video vlog earlier of Anderson's, and you should all check it out. He found it on Reddit. And Anderson is seen with Usher and Roy Jones Jr., and he's down, really down. And they're consoling him, and he's with his team, and he's literally in tears when he's talking to his team.
That was relief.
You see how quickly this guy wants a rematch. Even saying to all his close friends he'll fight Chris this week. He really wants this rematch, and that just goes to show you it was no work.
It was no work. Yao, I know you're on Ramsey's side. What is your take on all this craziness?
Look, you heard it first from the man himself, Ramsey's from Word on the Street podcast. He would never steer you wrong, people, all right? Never steer you wrong, okay? But I do have to say this. That fight was a bit of a goofy fight, like he said. Anderson did not engage at all. He was just focused on clowning and everything. Nobody's really paying attention to Chris Weidman because everybody's saying Anderson beat Anderson, all right? These are educated people, educated fans saying that Anderson beat Anderson. So just listen to the majority, what they're saying.
Listen to these cocksuckers. I kind of fall in the middle. I don't think he was trying to lose, but at the same time, I feel like he felt like a god after embarrassing Stephen Bonner, and he thought it's something he could get away with. You know, it is a strategy up to a point. I mean, Anderson was just getting stupid with it against Weidman, and it'll be interesting to see when they fight again, because it's looking like they will fight again. And Anderson Silva said after the first fight he wasn't interested in the title fight, but we oftentimes do see guys sort of back off of choices that they made right after a fight, a loss, when they were emotional. It's looking like we're going to see the rematch in either December or in February for Super Bowl weekend. Very simply, in the rematch, does Anderson Silva come out guns blazing like 100%? And B, who wins the rematch? Ramses?
If Anderson comes at it wanting to win, he will beat Chris Weidman, in my opinion. I mean, look, man, Weidman couldn't keep him down, couldn't submit him. The knockout, and I believe that Chris Weidman's a great fighter. But the fact remains, there's a reason people are saying Anderson totally lost this on his own. It wasn't that Chris Weidman delivered an ass whooping of lifetime proportions on his ass. Anderson Silva fucked around. He was goofing around and he lost. So man, in the rematch, there's a reason Andy is already the favorite, dude. I gotta say, everybody knows if he turns it on, shows up 100%, and does this thing, Chris Weidman's just not on his level, I think, skill-wise. Not skill-wise. But strength-wise, yeah, he dominates Anderson, but not skill-wise, which is how Anderson Silva wins fucking fights. So yeah, rematch happens. I'm gonna guess the Brazilian's gonna take it back, and then that'll just set up, guess what? The next immediate rematch in the third biggest fight in UFC history. That's the word on the street. Really
quick, Ramses, I don't want to ask a patronizing question, but are you mad it wasn't Chael?
No, not at all, man. Well, I mean, it sucks that it wasn't Chael, but basically, Chael revealed, he exposed Anderson as a man that could be beaten. And I don't think without the Chael fight, I don't think Chris Weidman would have been as confident as he was. So yeah, a little bit of the credit, actually all of it goes to Chael's son, and he actually won this fight for Chris Weidman. Word on the street. What's up, Ross?
As much as I love Chael didn't knock out Anderson Silva, so no. And Anderson Silva was beat by Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman knocked him out, and yeah. who takes it in the rematch, it's pretty obvious what my answer is. It's Chris Weidman. I could go on a long tangent about the fight. I could repeat the same exact things that I've been saying over and over again. I can add new things. I can ramble for about 3 hours about this topic, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to say Weidman wins it convincingly, wins it more dominantly, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, what goes down in the rematch?
Look, this is very simple.
Look.
In the rematch, Anderson Silva is going to put an ass whooping on Chris Weidman. You heard it from me first. He is going to put a beating on him. Like, you remember back at UFC 158 where Dana's like, GSP said, I'm going to put the worst beating you ever saw in the UFC. That's how bad this is going to be. It's going to be the worst beating ever. Hopefully he doesn't finish him in the first. I want to see like a nice beating, but you heard it from me first. Just watch.
You have a rebuttal, Ross?
He is clearly anti-Weidman. It's okay. I don't really
anti-white man. He is anti-white man.
But at the end of the day, your boy got knocked out, and your other boy's getting knocked out too. That's the word on the street. Vote you, Ramses.
Boy! GSP, I think he's referring to as Yao's other boy. Actually, I do want to talk about Silva, GSP, Jones. I want to talk about all those super fights. But first and foremost, we got to get to why is iTunes taking forever to open? Stat of the day. Anderson Silva was the champion of the UFC's middleweight division for 2,458 days. During that span, 26 other fighters have held a title in the UFC. Just to sort of put that championship in reference, 26 different guys have held a UFC belt during Anderson's reign, which lasted almost 2,500 days. That's fucking unbelievable. And, you know, he was on the streak. We were talking about super fights, him against GSP, him against John Jones. Now people are talking more about him versus Roy Jones Jr. Dana said it himself that the super fights are dead, but that the Weidman-Silva rematch was just as appealing. Simply put, do we ever see the super fights? Do we ever see Silva Jones? Do we ever see Silva GSP? And do we ever see Silva take on boxing legend Roy Jones Jr.? And shit, I'll throw it out there too. Who wins in all these super fights? I got Jones over Silva, Silva over GSP, and the other Jones over Silva if it was a boxing match, just simply because, you know, boxing is not Silva's forte. I say Silva crushes Jones in an MMA match, and Jones defeats Silva in a boxing match. Ramses, what do you think about all this super fight talk?
Look, I've been trying to tell you people, the Anderson Silva versus like a GSP or John Jones super fight, that makes more sense now that he's lost, okay? Honestly, anybody who's not going to watch the fight just because he doesn't have a 20-pound belt anymore? Give me a fucking break. All of us are going to tune in to watch this fucking shit happen. Any super fight. Now, GSP is afraid of Anderson Silva. The fact that Anderson Silva lost, GSP is going to use that as a fucking excuse to avoid the fight at all costs. Because basically, if you guys don't know, now you know, GSP's knees are totally blasted. He's got nothing left. His fights are just layups. In all works from here on out. He's got nothing left, people. Trust me. They took it all. Even the aliens abducting him can't fix this shit, alright? So that super fight, Silva versus GSP, maybe next year you'll fucking see that after GSP loses and they're both reduced to bum status. As far as Jones versus Silva, they could probably put that one together now. That one makes sense. Anderson doesn't need to be champ, let's face it. Come on, people. It makes more sense now that he's lost. Alright? The champion should be defending his belt. Last year, Anderson only defended it one time. It was all over people. The writing was on the wall. So yeah, make the fight fucking now. Jones versus Silva. Of course, John Jones is probably gonna knock out Anderson. No, actually no. It'll be like a stupid submission or something. They're not gonna hurt each other. The UFC is not gonna put two of the greatest fighters of all time in there to fucking give each other concussions. So I doubt we'll ever see anybody knock out the other. If there's another super fight that I'm missing, I don't know. But Anderson Silva versus Roy Jones Jr. Last night on the podcast, we gave Roy 2.5 to 1 odds that he would win. That's how much this loss and knockout of Anderson Silva is affecting everybody, man. He's approaching bum status. Ross, super fights, what the hell do you
status. I gotta get a bum status drop.
I'll make one.
Yes, you gotta get a bum status drop. Super fights. I'm not opposed to seeing, first of all, Silva GSP will never happen. Anderson will never fight GSP, and it's not Anderson's fault. It's 100% GSP. He does not want to fight him. It's pretty obvious. It will never happen. As far as Silva Jones goes, even though Anderson lost, I'm still, and I think everyone else would be if they put it on, interested in a fight between the two. I think win or lose in Anderson's next fight, he could go up to 205. Even if he loses, he definitely can go up to 205, because what are they going to do? Deny him? What are they going to make him do? Fight people in the lower end of the division? And at the end of the day, he can beat pretty much all the top guys except for maybe Jones. Jones is probably the toughest fight for him. It is definitely the toughest fight for him. It's the only challenge, in my opinion, for him at 205. I mean, he runs through everyone else. I think he beats the crap out of Rashad. I think he beats the crap out of Glover, as good as he is. I just don't see anybody beating Anderson Silva at 205 other than John Jones. I think a fight against John Jones, though, it's interesting. Originally, I thought Jones would just destroy him, but Anderson, if he plays games like that, I wonder how Jones would react. That's the only thing I want to know. I want to know how John Jones would react to Anderson Silva playing mind games with him inside the cage, because Jones, he can get emotional. I mean, if you look at Rashad Evans got in his brain, he got in his mind, so Anderson can do it. Then Roy Jones Jr., I have no desire to see that. I've never had a desire to see it. It makes no sense. Roy Jones Jr. would beat him in a boxing match. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got to comment on something Ross just said about Anderson playing mind games with Jones. That would be very interesting to see, because Jones is not like the most, mentally strong guy out there. But, all right, very simple. GSP is my favorite fighter. Growing as a fan of John Jones, and I'm a fan of Roy Jones Jr.'s boxing. But Anderson Silva beats all three of them. Simple.
Simply put, by the truth. Last topic. I don't want to stay on Weidman Silva too much, because we talked about it for literally over an hour on the UFC 162 post-fight podcast. Definitely listen to that if you haven't yet. But one topic we didn't talk about, we were talking before the show, the possibility of seeing Chris Weidman versus John Jones. It's not really likely. I mean, it's not like it can't happen, but to say the probability of that happening is over 50%, that's kind of silly. But if we ever do see Weidman versus John Jones, if that fight ever happened, would Weidman have a chance in hell against Jones? I have a hard time saying yes. Jones is just so physically superior than all the people in his own weight class. If a middleweight tries to come up and fight him, I just don't see him having a chance, even if they're as talented as Chris Weidman. Ramses, what do you think about this potential match?
If Chris Weidman and John Jones ever fucking fight, I'm sorry, Weidman doesn't stand a chance in my opinion. John Jones is just he's the bigger guy, and honestly, here's the problem with Chris Weidman. John Jones wouldn't come down to 185. Weidman would have to fucking go up there. And I think Weidman would just be too damn slow if he put on any more weight. I mean, I wasn't too impressed with his speed in this fight against Anderson Silva, man. I'm thinking, and the only reason he caught Anderson was because he pulled off the right combination. You know what I'm talking about? But it was slow as shit, his delivery. I think if he puts on weight, tries to fight John Jones, he's just going to get outworked, outmatched easily. I think it'll be an embarrassing fight to watch. That's my opinion. Ross?
I, once again, disagree completely. I think it would not be an embarrassing fight. Right now, I think if you match up today, Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva, I'm not stupid. I do believe Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva. Just realized I said that. John Jones and Chris Weidman. If you match those two up today, I'm picking John Jones. Even though I am a huge Chris Weidman fan and I'm a supporter of him and the whole 9 yards, I would pick John Jones. Only because Chris needs to defend the title maybe once or twice more. He needs to really get into a groove. He needs to show more to everybody, and he really needs to gain more experience inside the cage. He's only had 6 fights inside the octagon. John Jones has had, I can't even count how many. He's had a lot of fights. So, because of experience, I would not want to see that fight now, and if I had to pick someone, I'd pick John Jones. But in the future, in 2 years maybe, 2015, Madison Square Garden, Jones-Weidman super fight, that's a huge thing, and I would be picking Chris Weidman.
And really quick, before Yao chimes in, I was sort of poring over this week's news in the UFC, and one of the news bits was a quote from Alexander Gustafsson. It was, "Gustafsson, Jones is my toughest test yet." Yeah, why is that news? Of course Jones is your toughest test yet. What the fuck are you talking about?
Cyril Diabate is one of the best fighters ever.
What the fuck? Yeah, what do you think if Weidman ever faces Jones? Does Chris Weidman have a chance?
No, he does not. No, let me not say that. But the odds wouldn't be in his favor at all. Jones is, as much as I don't like John Jones, he is growing on me. You know, he's too sharp. And it's that simple. He's way too sharp. He's too fast. He's too sharp. His range is too long. Chris Weidman, this would be an embarrassing fight, like Ramsey said. Even if it's in 2 years, like Ross said. Even if Weidman has all the gets more experience, defends the title. He can defend the title 5 times if he wants to. He moves up to 205, and he's getting embarrassed and beaten to a pulp by John Jones. He's getting finished. He's getting bloodied. He's getting battered. You heard it from me first. If he moves up and fights John Jones, he will get a beating.
A fucking beating, and that's from the Truth. Yeah, the Truth. Actually, before we move on to Edgar Oliveira, I do want to ask one more thing. What was the deal with Anderson, kissing Weidman? He kissed him at the weigh-ins, and then he kissed him again after the first round. The weigh-in kiss was on the lips, which the picture of it's hilarious because Weidman's sucking his lips back into his mouth. So Silva only kisses his skin around his lips. And then after the first fight, Weidman, I think in sort of an effort to show he wasn't scared after Silva sort of danced around the second half of the first round, Weidman, to show he wasn't being upset by it, actually smiled at him and bowed and, said, great round. And then Silva kisses him on the cheek again. I mean, I know Chris Weidman is an attractive guy. I don't know if he's so attractive I would kiss him. I don't know if any guy's so attractive I would kiss him other than my beautiful self. I would kiss myself all over. I was about to go really deep with that, but I'm not going to go any further. But yeah, what was the deal with Anderson being all kissy with Chris Weidman? Ramses?
Man, do I need to spell it out for you people? Clearly, Anderson Silva is...
I think I know what to tune up right now.
I call him out, he covers his mouth like a little fancy boy. I mean, what is that?
They call me fancy boy. You're a love man, really walking. He's a dandy. He's a real fancy boy.
Let's go. That's right. Anderson Silva is a fancy boy. That's what was. The kissing thing. It was so disturbing, people. I almost didn't even watch the card or buy the card because of that alone. We don't need to see that. Clearly, the Spider has lost his mind. He was starting to doubt his own sexuality. What I'm trying to tell you, people, Anderson Silva is a fancy boy. He enjoys wearing the color pink. He knows the difference between a salad and dinner fork. He purchases fine linens and cloth. Alright?
Wow.
Look, Anderson Silva, a part of it was trying to get into Weidman's head. You know, Chris Weidman, he was asking around, that's the word on the street, he was asking his trainers and his best friends, he was like, am I gay now? What is this? The kiss disturbed him, it almost worked. But yeah, the gay technique strategy, unfortunately, it ended up backfiring on Andy. He got his ass knocked out, and he looked like a fancy boy going down the whole way. That's the word on the street. Anderson Silva, fancy boy of the week.
I mean, you heard everything he had to say. It's pretty obvious why Anderson kissed him. It's because he's a fancy boy, and he was trying to get into his head, but mostly because he is a fancy boy. Yeah.
Anderson Silva is not a fancy boy. He was just, you could say he was sunning Chris Weidman. And between the first and second round, you could say he was just sunning him. If you don't know what that means, he's my son, you're under me, I'm above you, that kind of thing. And the weigh-in thing, that wasn't a kiss. People keep calling it a kiss. They did not pucker up and, touch lips. They just got very close, that's all.
Nope, their mouths definitely touched. And
I just want to say...
sorry, go ahead.
As a Weidman supporter and a big Team Weidman guy, I can say that was a kiss.
Yeah.
It wasn't Chris's fault, but it was a kiss.
And, when I'm trying to show dominance over another man, I kiss them in the mouth. Alright, I think that's all we got for the Silva-Weidman fight. But we also got another fight to talk about before we get to Yao's training log. Grappler's Quest is getting very close. Frank Edgar and Charles Oliveira. Frank Edgar defeating Charles Oliveira. What are your thoughts on the fight before we get into what's next for Frank and our thoughts on the title picture currently at 145? Ramses, it was a hell of a fight, back and forth. Both guys' stocks rose in this fight because Oliveira was a heavy underdog. And even though in my books he didn't win a round, he looked impressive as shit. Frank Edgar, he is a motherfucker. That's all I got to say about Frank Edgar.
I've got to be honest. I was making myself some food for the main event. I did not and have not watched this fight yet. That's a straight truth, man.
That is fucking saddening. It was an amazing, amazing fight. Honestly, I've rooted against Frank since he took the belt out of my favorite fighter's hands, BJ Penn. And I have enjoyed his fights, but I've usually rooted against him. After last weekend's fights, I'm sorry, I'm a Frank Edgar fan. That guy is, like I said before, a motherfucker. Ross?
Yeah, Frankie Edgar is just... I'm not a pound-for-pound guy, but he's one of the pound-for-pound best fighters on the planet. He should be the champion at 155. He's not. I did think he lost to... he did lose to Aldo. He didn't do enough to get that third round. He won the fourth and fifth. But last night... not last night. Wow, I'm really messing up tonight.
Hey,
Saturday night.
Sorry, but I'm hearing, talk show background noise coming from someone's mic. They can mute up. I don't know if it's you, Ross, or who the fuck it is, but...
That was me, and I do apologize, because I do have everything linked here. I'm actually going to unplug this so that doesn't happen again.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, I do apologize, but I just lost my place. I forgot what I was talking about, if someone can remind me.
You were talking about Edgar versus Oliveira.
Thank you. I do apologize. This is unprofessional. But Frankie looked great, but he didn't look good enough for me. Because I guess I set my expectations too high. I expected him to go out there and finish Charles Oliveira in the first round. But then again, I got to give props to Charles Oliveira. I mean, the guy went out there. He took everything like a champ. He never went down. He landed his shots, especially in that third round. He stuck in there, and he traded with Frankie Edgar, and that's not something a lot of people can say. I mean, Gray Maynard can't even say that. He stood in there. He did a really good job surviving. He claims he was injured in the Cub Swanson fight. He says he blew out his knee in the locker room. I don't know if I believe it, but it's definitely got some validity now.
Nah, that story sounds like bullshit. Like, I would have won, but I blew my knee out 5 minutes before the fight.
Well, here's
That's
why. This is the reason why it could be valid, in my opinion. If you look at the way he went down, the guy got hit, and then he just kind of fell down. It clearly wasn't like a straight up. It wasn't your average knockout. It was weird. Something was weird about it.
It was goofy. It was
like
probably
he couldn't fight anymore because he couldn't move, so he kind of threw it.
Yeah, he definitely quit. That's for sure. Anyway, Frankie Edgar.
That fight was amazing. It was one of my favorites of the night. Frankie, he is one of my favorite fighters. I love to see him fight. As far as him in the featherweight division, I'd like to see him fight Cub Swanson or like Ricardo Lamas or somebody, or maybe when maybe when Chad Mendes beats Clay Guida, they'll face each other, somebody in the top. He needs somebody in the top. He is literally one win away from getting another title shot. So as long as he keeps winning, he'll get that belt.
Jake, I think you're muted or something.
Oh,
Maybe
God damn it, I was muted.
drugs.
Thank you. I'm muted and I'm doing heroin. All right, Frank Edgar, obviously in the title picture now. His previous 7 fights were all title fights, 6 at lightweights, and the most recent one at featherweight. Now, sort of the way the featherweight title picture looks, taking Pettis out of it, I think most people think Pettis is going to come back. It's funny, he was scheduled to get a title fight at featherweight. We might not ever see him fight at featherweight now. Backed out of the Aldo fight. Now he's talking about taking on Josh Thompson. I mean, it seems like the guy is always getting injured. He was supposed to fight Cerrone for the longest time, kept getting injured. He could have gotten an immediate lightweight title shot, which the UFC would have loved in his home city of Milwaukee, but, kind of fucking around with the whole Aldo thing took him out of it, and now he might only get a number 1 contender fight at lightweight. So currently the featherweight title picture, pardon me, you have Jose Aldo taking on Zombie. We don't know if Aldo is going to move up after the fight. I mean, it's really the most muddled title picture now, really because of Pettis and Aldo. Aldo, we don't know if he's going to move up. Pettis, we don't know if he's going to come back down. But that aside, I think Jose Aldo is very relieved he's taking on Zombie instead of Pettis. Zombie is both a better stylistic matchup and a fighter just not as good as Pettis. So after Zombie and Aldo, who gets the next number 1 title contender spot? I say just because Edgar just so recently got the title fight. You make Lamas versus Swanson. The winner of that takes on the winner of Aldo Zombie. And if Aldo wins and moves up to 155, then have Edgar fight the winner of Lamas and Swanson. But Lamas and Swanson, that rematch would be excellent. If I had to pick out of the two which deserves a title fight more, I'd have to go with Lamas, just because, Lamas beat Swanson. And, it's as easy as that. What are your thoughts on the featherweight title picture, Ramses?
Look, Ricardo Lamas, Cub Swanson, the Korean. None of these fights excite me, to tell you the truth, man. I haven't seen anything spectacular from this fucking division. You'd want somebody like a Cub Swanson to just, come out of nowhere, sweep, and then fucking get that title. I guess maybe he seems cool. Other than that, I don't give a damn about any of these other people. But yeah, Anthony Pettis is going to beat the next man they put in front of him, whatever weight class he ends up fucking around with. That's my opinion. Ross?
I think the next title challenger should be definitely either Ricardo Lamas or Cub Swanson. Lamas beat Swanson, as we all know, back in November 2011 at UFC on Fox 1. But that was the first fight in the UFC for those guys. So, well, I'm not sure if it was... I do think it was Lamas' first fight. So you can't really judge from so long ago. I mean, now Cub Swanson's on a 5-fight winning streak, which is incredible, and 4 of those are by pretty brutal knockout, especially the one this past Saturday with Dennis Seaver. He really beat the shit out of him. I think the best
4 out of his last 5. I believe 4 out of his last 5 fights have been by KO or TKO.
Yeah, yep. And for me, the best thing they could do is do Lamas Swanson, do it on Fox Sports 1, make it the main event because it's a big fight. It's a rematch, so that'll in itself will have a little bit of luster there. Put it on in like Chicago, where Lamas is from, and that's the best way to do it.
Awesome city, Chicago. Yao, what do you think about the current title picture at 145? Coincidentally, the belt that one day you will hold.
Yeah, hopefully one day, that's a goal of mine. But the title picture right now, like for me, I think the top 5 in the featherweight division are the champion, Chad Mendes, Frankie Edgar, what is this guy's name? Cub Swanson.
I was going to say Mendes is fighting Guida next, so I guess he's in it too if you're including Mendes.
Yeah, Chad Mendes. So those guys, those are really the top guys. But I really feel like they're all one win away from a title shot. That's how close they are. Even though they're ranked, some may be above each other or whatever. I really think that they're all one win away from a title shot. So whoever can fight first, I think they'll get the immediate title shot.
Very true, very true. And we will see what happens, as everything gets slotted up, who Frank Edgar will face next. There are so many guys he could face next that I don't even know if it's worth really going into too deeply. Let's get to Yao's training log before we cover the Munoz and Swanson victories. The music, I guess, Yao, you're doing this off of your phone on Skype, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the music, because you can't mute yourself while you talk, obviously, so I think the reverb of the music kind of fucked with your connection last time. So we will go musicless this time and for the rest of them, or at least until we figure out what to do. And we're also going to change up the format a little bit of Yao's training log. I'm going to ask him a few questions pertaining to his training. Yeah, we were talking before. You're 10 days out, 9 days out?
Yep. It's 12:16 a.m. now here in New York, so I'm actually 9 days out from it.
July 20th, and it's going to be in New Jersey, right?
Correct. Grappler's Quest, U.S. Nationals, July 20th.
Do you know how many people are going to be in your bracket?
Well, I have a teammate that's in my bracket, and he said he checked it, and when he checked last week, there were 75 people in the weight class that we're in. So it's pretty deep, and it's going to be even bigger by the 20th.
Right, so obviously if you don't have an even number of people, 32, 64, 128, there are fighters who will have to fight more fights than other people to get to, the semifinals, the finals. How do they choose to rank people? Is it random, or do they look back at your record and actually rank you by, your prior accomplishments?
It's completely random. They just, they have divisions, white belt, and how many years you've been doing it, or, if you wrestled before, they do it by that also. So they'll, you'll pick your division, and then they just do it random. They put all the names in the computer, and they just select by random.
And which division are you in?
I'm doing both gi and no gi jiu-jitsu, even though I hate the gi. I'm doing both gi and no gi, 149 pounds, white belt.
All right, so you're gonna be going against people, who have trained roughly the same amount of time as you. How long have you trained? Also,
2 years now. I have 2 stripes on my belt, but I've been doing no gi for about 2.5 now. I train more no gi, so you could say between 2 and 2.5 years jiu-jitsu.
All right. So the no gi, you're just gonna wear a rash guard and board shorts.
Yeah, we actually have the gym, our team. They ordered rash guards for us. We're all gonna have the same rash guard on. Our
short
school
sleeve
logo.
or long sleeve?
Both. They're gonna have both styles depending on what you want to wear. I'm gonna wear short sleeve. I prefer the short sleeves. It's gonna have the team logo, the school's logo on it, and then we're Renzo Gracie affiliate, so it'll have the RGA logo on the back too. It's pretty cool.
So what team are you a part of?
Progressive Martial Arts, and then we're affiliate of Renzo Gracie.
Okay, cool. And gi, you're gonna train as well. Do you train with the gi much, and are you all getting custom team gis as well?
We're gonna have patches on it, and I train no gi 4 times a week and gi twice a week. So I'm more proactive on the no gi.
All right, but you're gonna win both, right?
For sure. I'm hoping,
sure.
God willing.
All right, and finally, my last question before next week's gonna be a real big week, or actually I have 2. Next week's obviously going to be huge because it's going to be the last training log before the tournament. But first off, what will your official title be when you win the championship?
Winner, I guess.
Grapplers, like Grappler's Quest. Is it like a state title? Is it a regional? Is it a national thing?
Oh, it's national. Yeah, this is the nationals. So I'll be the actually you do get champion at the end of your name. So if I win first place, I'll be the champion of that division.
Word. That is the truth. And finally, sort of tell us about how your mindset is changing as Grappler's Quest is sneaking up on us.
Well, I'm getting more and more nervous. Last month I wasn't as nervous. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I got the tournament at the end of the month and everything. But now I'm getting more and more nervous because it's almost here, and especially with this weight cut thing, I'm 9 pounds over, and I still got to lose that. I'm actually gonna weigh in the day before the tournament on the 19th, so I don't have to worry about it the day of, and then I can fuel up and everything, get my weight back on. So I'm really nervous, but I'm focusing more. And even my teammates, when we're rolling more aggressively and everything. Everybody's getting serious, so it's a good thing.
For sure. Actually, I was going to end it there, but you mentioned your weight. You were talking with us earlier about your weight cut and all that. I don't know how much you want to share, but sort of talk to us about your cut, where you are now, and sort of what's going on with your weight cut.
Well, I've been really hungry lately.
Hungry for a championship, son! Yeah!
Hell yeah. Last week, I was 157 pounds, and now I'm back at 159, which sets me back, and then I'll have to lose 10 to 11 pounds by the 19th. I'm hoping to lose another 3 just on diet and then sweat out the rest. But I'll make this weight. No doubt about it. I'm going to make this weight, and I have to because I don't want to compete at 159 pounds.
if I remember correctly, I think for the second Mighty Mouse fight, I think Uncle Creepy dropped 31 pounds. I think he dropped from 156 to 125, which it's sort of a no-brainer why he looked much flatter in that second fight. So I think if Uncle Creepy can cut from 156 to 125, you should be able to cut from 159 to 149 without too much of an issue. You're getting pumped. I mean, you training any differently? Are you training more intense now? You know, I mean, I'm sure now. You know, it's sort of like me moving across the country. As the date gets nearer and nearer, it sort of becomes more and more of a reality. And then once you're actually doing it, and it's something you've been focusing on for the longest time, it's sort of surreal that it's finally there. But I seriously think you're gonna do very well. I mean, I doubt many people in this tournament are training as hard as you. You're training 6 days a week. I mean, we've talked about your diet, your weight cut. You're obviously very disciplined. You're probably going to be like one of maybe a few guys in that whole tournament who, don't drink and don't smoke and are really doing it real. So, Yao, the Truth, future champion of Grappler's Quest, we appreciate you letting us look into your training and shit. 9 days, son. 9 days until Yao the Truth is the national champion.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jake.
And believe that Yao's gonna take this shit. Let's move on though. UFC 162 shit I still want to talk about. Don't worry, we're not gonna talk about the Tim Kennedy fight because that shit was boring as hell. But two fights that weren't boring as hell. Mark Munoz coming out looking amazing. Last week we talked about his weight loss. He really went from being pretty overweight, talked about being depressed and all that, and came back. Now he looks like a Mark Munoz 2.0, really taking out a Tim Boetsch who's done some impressive stuff inside the octagon. I mean, he finished Yushin Okami, which a lot of people think of as a top 5 middleweight at the moment. Simply put, is Mark Munoz a threat to the middleweight championship? And actually, I sort of want to touch on what Jamie said last night. Jamie Huey. It was really interesting. I forget if it was Jamie or Spilled Bag of Ice. Either way, follow both of them on Twitter, Spilled Bag of Ice or Coach Jamie Huey. I think it was Jamie who said, now that Weidman's the championship, it sort of frees up that logjam where nobody matched up stylistically well against Anderson. But now with Weidman winning, because I do really think he is the best middleweight, but I think, people, I don't think he's gonna, have 10 straight title defenses. I think people will match up against him differently than Anderson did. We might see the belt change hands a lot in the next couple of years. Is Mark Munoz a legit threat to the 185 belt, Ramses?
Munoz, I didn't see anything impressive. He had solid, hard body shots once he grounded his opponent. That's the only impressive shit that we saw from him, though. There was a lot of cage hugging going on. I wasn't down with it. He's got to do some more work to impress me. So, Mark, I'm sorry, dude. I wasn't impressed. I think you're probably still a little punchy from the last fight, dude. I don't trust you yet. You got to earn it back. Ross?
Well, the voice of reason says that Mark Munoz looked fantastic on Saturday night. He really came in the best shape of his career. He didn't look the same as he did in the Weidman fight. Do I think he can be a threat to the belt? I do. I think he's the dark horse of the division. I think he cannot beat the current middleweight champion. I don't think he can beat the current number one contender. A fight with Vitor, more likely than not, he'd get knocked out. But if he can wrestle him, he can take it into the later rounds. He can win that fight. But yeah, I think other than really the top 3 guys, he can pretty much beat everybody else in the division. He's definitely a solid fighter.
For me, I'm just going to have to say Mark Munoz is at bum status. He's 35 years old. He beat Tim Boetsch, which is semi-impressive. I mean, I don't think he beats Vitor. I don't think he beats Chris Weidman. I don't think who else is? I don't think he beats Bisping. So I just think he's going to go on a little, like, you know, inspiring run to, like, inspire, like, other people that's been, like, overweight or whatever. And then he's just going to get his walking papers.
Damn, that is a critical analysis by Yao the Truth, the professional MMA troll. If you aren't following him, he's trolling everyone, whether it's Nam Fan, whoever the fuck it is. It's funny as fuck, dude. All right, Swanson Seaver. Swanson, you were just talking about it. Holy shit! I just saw Rampage Jackson on a Reebok ad on my television. That was weird. Cub Swanson Ross, you were talking about his impressive TKO victory earlier when we were talking about the featherweight title picture, talking about a possible rematch against Ricardo Lamas. Simply put, what's next for Cub Swanson? Ramses?
Man, I'm not even gonna pretend like I give a damn. I don't care what happens to that man, Cub Swanson. He hasn't done anything for me to be impressed by. I don't know, for some reason I just can't get into that shit. I'll pass it to Ross.
I think Cub Swanson, like I said before, needs to fight Ricardo Lamas. They need to fight to determine who is 100% the number one contender. Those are the two best guys outside of Aldo in that division right now. We need to find out who's the best. That fight from 2 years ago does not matter in today's world. So let's see that fight again. Fox Sports 1 in Chicago sometime at the end of the year.
This is a hard question because, like I said before, anybody in the top 5 of the featherweight division, I really feel if they win impressively, I feel like any of them could get the next title shot. Cub Swanson, whoever he fights, he can fight whoever, but if he wins impressively, he's getting the title shot because that's how close everyone is to that title.
Yeah, there is a lot of people who now that there's a different champion, whether it's Vitor, whether it's Sonnen, are probably interested in that belt at 185. But Silva, it looks like, will have the first crack at it. Also, to go over the prelims, I'll review really quick. You had, obviously, that main card snoozer, Tim Kennedy defeating Roger Gracie via unanimous decision, Chris Lieben losing a split decision to Andrew Craig, Norman Park defeating Kazuki Tokadome by UD, Gabriel Gonzaga with a quick TKO over Dave Herman 17 seconds in, Edson Barboza annihilating the legs of Rafael Oliveira, getting a TKO in the second round after what I'm pretty sure, I haven't read anything about it, but I'm sure he broke his leg or tore something in his knee. Those were nasty kicks. He couldn't even stand. Brian Melancon looked really good, dispatching Seth Baczynski via KO with a second left in the first round. And, of course, our boy Mike Pierce, the most underrated fighter in the UFC, somehow fighting in a slot below the guy he just knocked out, and Seth Baczynski. A guy who's 8-2 in his last 10 fights, and both of those 2 losses being against elite opponents in Koscheck and Hendricks, and B, being fights that really could have gone either way. I mean, both of those fights were razor close. What stands out to me was Gabriel basically, being the gatekeeper of the heavyweights. I hope Dave Herman gets his walking papers soon. Edson Barboza, that was exactly, I forget who was saying it, but that was exactly like on the video game, UFC 3, if anybody's ever played it. Exactly like that game. You kick him in the legs, he fell the same way, and Edson's just got such crisp, clean kicks on the legs. You definitely got to watch out for that, and I'm sure his next opponent's going to be training hard against leg kicks. And of course, Chris Lieben, another loss, another stylistic nightmare. It was a split judges nod. I don't know how anybody could have judged that for Chris. But if the UFC does not give him a favorable matchup in his next fight, it could be his last. Ramses, what stood out to you?
Mike Pierce getting the knockout Unfortunately, on the Facebook prelims, this man doesn't get enough respect. People, I don't know what the fuck he did. He must have slept with Dana White's mom or something. He did something to piss somebody off. I bet if his next loss, they're probably going to try to cut him. That's how bad they hate Mike Pierce for some goddamn reason. I don't know what's up, but he deserves a fucking title shot immediately. He beat Cardcheck's ass, whatever the fuck his name is. Mike Pierce, man, he stood out the most to me. Tim Kennedy, I'm trying to get him on the show soon. So, yeah, his fight was totally awesome, exciting. Yeah, hands down. Ross, what's up?
Mike Pierce was the standout of the prelims. He looked fantastic, as he always does. Mike Pierce deserves someone top 5, in my opinion. Edson Barboza, he's a star. That dude is going to be huge for the UFC in Brazil. He's young. He's improving. He's really, really good. Gabriel Gonzaga looked good, but that doesn't mean anything because Dave Herman's a can. We all know he's a can. He's lost 4 straight now. He can't cut it in the UFC anymore. He's getting that pink slip. And the other guy who looked really good on the prelims was the Tough Australia winner, Norman Park. He looked very good. 3rd round, he kind of faded a little bit, but he definitely displayed a good ground game and very good striking. Andrew Craig, I wasn't really that impressed with. Lieben is terrible. Andrew Craig just kind of, to steal Misha Tate's line, he coasted. But yeah, Mike Pierce, definitely the winner of the prelims.
For me, look, the hot topic. The hot topic of the prelims was Edson Barboza. Okay, when's the last time we've seen that? I bet nobody can even answer. All right, that's how long ago it was, if it even happened. That was amazing. I mean, I really love kickboxing, except you, Ross, except you. But I really love kickboxing, and the way he was able to finish him with the leg kicks like that was amazing. His striking is so sharp, it's so clean. I'm really excited to see. I really think he's a future champion. I really think he could beat Ben Henderson today.
All right, so if he fights Melvin Gillard, who wins?
Oh, man. No, not that question.
All right, we'll save it for a future show. We don't want to go too deep here. Yeah, for me, what kind of stood out was just Mike Pierce getting the shaft. It's kind of funny. I mean, when he fought Aaron Simpson on the UFC on FX card, he I think was like the last or the second to last fight on Fuel TV, and now he's like the first fight. He's moving down as he loses. It's fucking ridiculous. We do have a caller from the area code 409. How would you like to identify yourself and how's it going?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brandon from Beaumont, Texas.
Brandon, Surfer Guy 7979?
That's right.
Fuck yeah.
I was listening to you guys talking about the standouts of the preliminary cards.
Yeah.
And Edson Barboza looked nasty with those leg kicks, right?
He looked... I've never seen someone... I mean, just go out with an X game plan and really do it to a T. I mean, Rafael, I guess that was his name. I don't have it up, but yeah, his opponent looked like he did not have a shot. What do you think about Edson's future in the lightweight weight class?
Oh, I think he's definitely a bright star. He's going to be coming up. I'd like to see him fight somewhere in the top 5 next. I mean, he's young, he's marketable, he's from Brazil. Those Brazilians are taking it over now, and I think he's going to do nothing but good things in the UFC.
Fuck yeah, that loss to Jamie Varner really derailed him. It's the only loss on his career. In his career, he was on a 4-fight UFC win streak, including wins against guys like Ross Pearson and Terry Edom. Pearson is a motherfucker. He beat him. Now he's back on the right track again, and we'll see. But man, if he hadn't lost to Varner, he would probably be a fight or two away from a title shot. We had talked about it at length at the top of the show, and I'm sure you've got some sort of opinion on it. What'd you think about Weidman versus Silva? Was that not the craziest shit you've ever seen?
Wow. I mean, I expected Anderson to come out and showboat a little bit, but I think he got a little bit too cocky. And I mean, I said it from the beginning to everybody I know. I think Weidman was going to take it. I had him by decision, though. I thought he would stick it out. The knockout was a surprise. Anderson got too cocky, left his chin out there, and he got caught.
All right, we're probably going to see the rematch December or February. Who you got in the rematch?
Yeah, Weidman, hands down. Everything Ross has said, I agree with wholeheartedly.
I like this guy.
Fuck yeah! Well, we are about to move on to the news. Would you like to stay on the horn with us, or do you have more important shit to tend to?
No, I'll stick around.
Fuck yeah! We'll stick around with Brandon, and we finished up the prelim recap. We got some news to go over. Let's get to it. We can't start the news without the news drop, though. And I guess sort of the order we'll do. We've been rocking Ramses, Ross, and Yao. Brandon, you can just hop in after Yao and get the last word in, and then I'll take it after you and move on to the next topic. Ariel Helwani was talking about some breaking news that he's going to break tomorrow night on UFC Tonight. And he's not going to break it now. He's going to break it tomorrow. Sorry, Ariel, the news has already been broken. Tito broke it himself. He tweeted out a picture of the doormat of the Bellator corporate offices. It looks like Tito Ortiz is headed to Bellator. And they do have a pretty impressive 205-pound weight class now, especially if you look at what they had just a year or two ago. They got King Mo, they got Rampage Jackson, now they're going to have Tito. It's looking like Page and Tito will probably be in the light heavyweight tournament that starts in December, and probably by that point, King Mo will be the champion. So it'll be interesting to see how these older UFC guys, two guys who could both be future UFC Hall of Famers, see how they do in Bellator. B, if Dana White completely ostracizes them like he did Randy for, leaving the UFC and getting involved with Bellator. We will see. But yeah, that breaking news is Tito to Bellator. Ramses, what do you think about the move, and how do you think Tito is going to fare in Bellator?
Well, shit. I just have to say it was pretty damn funny that Tito Ortiz spoiled Ariel Hawaii's a surprise. He's going to sign with Bellator. I'm not ruling out the possibility that it's going to be like a phony-ass wrestling contract like Rampage, but no, it seems like they're both going to fight in Bellator, and of course it only makes sense that you would have them fight each other. I don't think either one of them is going to actually be a part of the tournament. It's just got to be a money fight, man. It's something to cash in on real quick. As far as that goes, I mean, it's going to be a bum fight. A lot of cage hugging. We won't see any knockout, anything like that, man. Aren't Tito and Rampage friends or something? Anyway, yeah, I'll wait till I hear the entire little briefing here tomorrow, the press conference, whatever the fuck they're gonna do. I'll wait till the news is out before I, start making any crazy ass forecasts. But yep, Tito Ortiz and Bellator. Why the fuck not?
And I guess it's gonna be. I guess it's gonna be broken on the MMA Hour tomorrow at 11 a.m. EST, according to Ross. And really quick, Brandon, if you could, if there's a mute function or something on your phone, if at all possible, if you could mute in between whenever you talk, it's not loud at all. I'm just kind of OCD and hear little sounds. But Ross, Tito to Bellator, what's the fucking word?
The word is, who gives a shit? I mean, Tito has no business coming out of retirement. No one wants to see him fight. At the same time, Bellator will sign anybody and everybody. They'll sign. I mean, if you have any sort of record of any kind, they will sign you. If you've murdered someone, congratulations, you're in the tournament.
Yep.
I think if Aaron Hernandez somehow is able to get out, they will sign him to a heavyweight contract.
No, they signed him last week once he got arrested. Actually, it's going to be Aaron. It's going to be Rampage, Tito, Aaron Hernandez, and I think they might be able to get Ray Carruth out on bail, and he's going to be the fourth guy.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah.
That's the word on the street, right?
Indeed.
Wow. I think they're going to end up doing like Jake said before. It's all going to fall in place. King Mo is going to be champion. He's going to win this tournament, and then he's going to beat up the other two bums, whichever one wins out of the other two bums between Newton and Vague. And then by next year, you'll see King Mo versus the winner of Rampage versus Tito, which will happen sometime in winter.
Ramses, may I use the term clown status?
Go for it, man. Hell yeah.
Tito Ortiz is at clown status, alright? He has no business trying to fight younger. Oh man, this is just so dumb. I couldn't believe it when I just heard you say it. He's actually going to go to Bellator and fight younger, hungrier fighters than him and try to win impressively or whatever. It's just dumb. I don't know why he's doing it. It's ridiculous. It's more ridiculous than Rampage. I mean, at least Rampage was still fighting actively when he signed to Bellator. This is just dumb. That's all I have to say.
What do you think, Brandon?
I agree with you. I mean, Tito Ortiz, who cares? I mean, the guy's past his time. I think he's going to go there and get embarrassed. I mean, Bellator has some pretty decent young fighters coming up. They're hungry. They're trying to win. They're trying to prove themselves. And Tito Ortiz is coming over. You know, I think he should stay retired. And Rampage coming over. Yeah, I think they're setting it up for King Mo. King Mo's going to be the champ by the end of the year, and he'll be sitting pretty in Bellator.
In his last 9 fights, the 38-year-old Tito Ortiz has 1 win against Ryan Bader. He has one win against Bader, 1 draw to Rashad Evans, and we're going all the way back to 2006 here. Since he lost his belt to Chuck, and 7 losses to Chuck, Lyoto, Forrest, Matt Hamill, Rashad Evans, Big Nog, and Forrest Griffin. This guy, he is pretty much at clown status now. He will be facing on much shittier opponents though, so we will see. I think Bellator would realize the value in Tito and feed him a bum or two just so they could pump him up, but we will see. I'm sure, as all you guys are aware, of Miesha Tate to be in the ESPN body issue of ESPN magazine. Ronda Rousey, I think, was in it the last time around. Pictures have leaked of Miesha Tate. I've probably spent about 18 hours just staring at each individual picture. They are pretty good. Just type in Miesha Tate ESPN body issue, and you cannot go wrong. But the question I've got to throw out: if you were on a desert island, you're stranded, which body issue would you rather have with you? The Ronda Rousey body issue or the Miesha Tate body issue? A man's got to do what a man's got to do. Ramses?
I'd go with Miesha, man. I mean, Ronda, I've really never found her that attractive to begin with. Just got to tell you the truth. I'd rather go with a Miesha. She looked alright. Ass looks okay. Like on a Tuesday night, if you get all the work out of the way, all your homework or whatever, maybe I'd give her a call just as a goof. What do you think, Ross?
Deadass.
You see, I need a little more clarification. I am a Jew, so I like to ask questions. I want to know, is this magazine, this body issue, the only thing I have on this island?
You have that and a bunch of ham products.
Ham products.
Yes, because you are a Jew. No, all right. This is going to be your typical Castaway setup. You've figured out fire. You figured out catching fish. You got a volleyball to talk to, but you got one piece of literature. Or no, it isn't even the magazine. All it is just ripped out pages. Because as the plane was crashing, you clutched the magazine and knew you'd need these 3 pages for survival, and you ripped them out. So basically, the scenario is you're Tom Hanks in a Castaway situation, and instead of a volleyball to talk to, you have Miesha Tate or Ronda Rousey body issue pages to talk to and pal around with, so to speak.
Yeah, then I'm gonna have to go with Miesha Tate. I mean, ESPN completely screwed up Ronda's body issue. They now I'm talking from a designer and a photographer standpoint, but they put Ronda too close in the foreground. She's like in your face, and that's just not. The coloring in the background's terrible with like that pink and blue bullshit.
Yeah, the rainbow shit.
Yeah, it was terribly done. Nothing against Ronda Rousey. It's completely their fault. They made that shoot look bad. Miesha's on the other hand.
This man's going deep.
Miesha's on the I get involved with these graphic arts things. Miesha, on the other hand, she had a pretty good shoot. There were some things that were wrong with it, but yeah, I picked Miesha.
Sorry, I was muted. If I had to choose, okay, well, first let me say, I gotta agree with Ramses. Ronda Rousey is not that attractive. She looks like my veterinarian teacher from high school, alright? He was a 35-year-old vegan. That's what she looks like. I'd have to pick Miesha Tate. She's way hotter than Ronda Rousey. And I couldn't stand, I just have to pick Miesha Tate.
Miesha Tate's shoot looked better. Yeah, Ronda Rousey's, the colors were all pinks and purples, and her outfit was pink. And Miesha Tate, at some point in time, you have to look at her face. And I'd go with Ronda Rousey for sure. Ronda Rousey, she is cute. She's the girl next door. She can whoop everybody's ass. Ronda Rousey, hands down.
For sure. And we got another caller. You might recognize his voice because he is the original co-host. Chris Lowe, first and foremost, how are you doing? You can follow him on Twitter, C. Lowenstein.
What's up, guys? Doing pretty good, man. Just eating some chips and listening to someone talk about who's hotter between Rousey and Tate. The age-old question.
What kind of chip are you
guacamole
currently indulging in? A guacamole chip? Is it like a Dorito flavored sort of thing, or is it a tortilla chip with guacamole?
I'll tell you what, it's actually called guaca chip, man. It's a tortilla chip flavored like guacamole.
Guaca chip. All right, Chris. Simply put, if you're stranded on a desert island and you can either have the ESPN body issue with Miesha Tate or the ESPN issue with Ronda Rousey, like I said before, Chris, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. Which one do you choose to bring with you as your plane crashes into this desert island?
I'm going Ronda Rousey because I think if maybe I foraged enough nutrients, I could get some more fat on her. I like when Ronda has a little more extra to her. She's got that fucking amazing body, and her face is better, and she's less annoying than Miesha Tate.
Fine. All right. Ross, did you want to clear up something real quick?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. Even though I said I'd pick Miesha's body issue, if I had to pick between the two of them, I'd pick Ronda any day.
Ramses, are you in the same boat as Ross?
I'd go with Miesha, man. She just seems like more of a bitch in heat. That's the bottom line. Stone Cold would say.
Hey, Ramses, we all know how you like crazy bitches. Moving on.
That's the bottom line.
Unless anyone's got anything else to throw in. Yeah, Brandon? Chris? Nope, nothing. All right, let's get into the 10 solid seconds of sports before we talk a little Diego Sanchez and Gil Melendez. The dog days of summer are upon us. All we have is midseason baseball, the Tour de France, and Aaron Hernandez getting arraigned on murder charges. Dwight Howard to the Houston Rockets. That's it. It's been boring. Yeah. Maybe the least energetic 10 seconds of sports ever, because we are really in the dog days of summer. There's nothing going on. Gil Melendez and Diego Sanchez slated for UFC 166 in Houston. That's the card that's going to be headlined by Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos. The trilogy match, I believe that's going to be October 19th, October 18th, something like that. Diego Sanchez, still relatively young. He's 31. He's been in the UFC seemingly forever, since Tough 1 in 2005. It's coming up on a decade. He was really young then. Now 31. Yeah, it's going to be October 19th. Diego Sanchez, sort of has been up and down the last few years. Beat Guida in a split judge's nod, then got the title shot, lost to BJ Penn, lost to John Hathaway after that, then got 2 in a row, a win against Paulo Thiago and a controversial unanimous decision against Martin Kampmann. Then he lost to Jake Ellenberger, then he beat Takanori Gomi. He's going to be facing a Gil Melendez, who was on a pretty impressive win streak in Strikeforce. I think he defended that title, 5-6 times. Then he joined the UFC, and in the unification title fight, lost to Benson Henderson via just a razor-thin judge's nod. I think Gilbert, how old is Gilbert? Gilbert's also 31, so they are the same age. This is going to be a hell of a fight. It's going to be a war, but I'm actually giving it to Gil. Gil has just been the more consistent guy, and Sanchez has been up and down. I wouldn't be shocked if Diego won, though. Diego is a motherfucker, and he is known to pull some fights out of his ass. Ramses?
Yeah, Gilbert Melendez, man. Look, this is all I have to say. He was in the movie Supreme Champion with Stephen Bonner. Stephen Bonner was the action hero star of this movie. And in this movie, Gilbert Melendez was actually killed in the cage. And then Stephen Bonner jumped into the cage and resuscitated him with mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. That's all I have to say. Ross, what do you think?
I still have to see that movie because that sounds unbelievable. I think Gilbert Melendez is a much better fighter. However, I do think that when he gets into these wars, as you see with Josh Thompson, he starts to fade. He starts to fade around the third round, and that's bad because he needs those later rounds. Then again, it is a 3-round fight, so more likely than not, he's safe as long as he doesn't get into a Diego Sanchez, Clay Guida type war. He should win this fight.
For me, I still can't believe that he accepted this fight. This is Diego Sanchez. Sanchez is a bum. Gilbert Melendez could have easily fought Cerrone, Donald Cerrone, perfect opponent. He could have easily fought him. I don't understand why he chose to fight Diego Sanchez. What is that really going to do for him? Okay, you beat Diego Sanchez. Now what? Okay, now you need to fight another top 5 opponent. He could have easily just fought a top 5 opponent after losing a split decision to Benson Henderson. But he's going to beat Diego Sanchez.
I agree with you, Al. I think he's going to beat Diego Sanchez. I cannot wait for that fight, though. I'm going to be there October 19th, Houston, Texas. I will be there, and I'm going to witness it. I think Diego has a chance. He has heavy hands. He's got good cardio, but in the end of it, Gilbert, his wrestling, he's a bull. He's going to take it. He's going to take it. He's probably second round knockout.
Yeah, man. Ross brought up a great point about Gilbert kind of fading and whatnot, and that's not necessarily good for him in a fight with Diego. But I think that Diego is probably the only thing he's better at is scrambling. Other than that, I think Gilbert is stronger, he's more technical, and his performances are definitely more in line with one another, whereas Diego's kind of been up and down in weight classes and has looked different at different weight classes, whereas I think Gilbert kind of looks the same mostly. And I think also agree with Yao. I don't think that Diego really deserves this fight. So on fight night, I think Gilbert should be able to pull out the W. I'm really not thinking he's going to be able to finish Diego, though.
For sure, yeah, he definitely will be favored in Vegas. Yeah, we do have a couple more topics before we close the show out. But first and foremost, you know what time it is. Time to get to Ramsey's fight tips. Ramsey's, off to you, cocksucker.
What's up, you worthless bastards? I'm here with the goddamn word on the street fight tip of the week here on the MMA Podcast. This one's based off some true shit that happened to me earlier today. I call this the Jimmy John's repeater flash technique. That's right, people. Alright, I'm just going back to my place for a little lunch, just doing what I gotta do. I notice a car in front of me. It's a Jimmy John's delivery man. Just driving his car, acting all nuts, slowing down in front of me in a narrow... It was just me and him. He slows down in front of me. I'm like, what is this guy doing? His car stops right in front of mine. And all of a sudden, he puts that shit in reverse and starts coming at me. I'm honking my horn like crazy. What the fuck is this guy doing? No stopping him. He fucking backs his car and reversed it right into mine. Smash! So I'm like, what the fuck? I get out. He gets out. Right away, he's hostile. Which, I get out with a smile on my face because I don't give a fuck about cars. He's coming out hostile. He says, why the fuck did you run up on my car? So I did the repeat technique. I was just like, you ran up on my car. Just repeating whatever the fuck he said to me. And this guy, I'm looking at the damage. He's just looking at me. He's not even caring about what happened. And then his next words are, why were you so fucking close to me? And I just did the repeat technique. I said, looks like you got close to me. At this point, I noticed there is no damage on the car. So my alerts go up. Why is this man, why did he stop? Why did he back into me? Why isn't he even looking at the damage? Right away, I know it's time to fucking escalate this shit. So this is where I already did the repeater, this is where the flash technique comes in. I just make a move like I'm adjusting my belt. I let him see that I'm carrying a 9mm Smith & Wesson, motherfuckers. That's right, people. It's not exactly a brandish. I was adjusting my belt. He sees that shit. And right away, he changes his tune. He says, all right, man, it looks like we're all good here. And I, of course, said, looks like we're all good. He gets into his car, drives, and I go the fuck home, smoke some weed, and live to fight another day. That's the Jimmy John's repeater flash technique coming at you, man. See you next time at the dojo.
That was Ramsey's fight tips. Check him out on the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. He's always got something funny to say. Speaking of the Aunt Jimmy Show and the Word on the Street podcast, let's face it, it may as well be called the Chael Sonnen Show. We all are pretty unabashed followers of Chael Sonnen, and recently Chael made a declaration. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it was at the Q&A fan session, and to quote him. He says, he never has had contract demands, but that's all over now, and now he's got some demands. First, Jello Biafra replaces Bruce Buffer as ring announcer. Second, every fight I'm in must be a number one contender fight or a title match. If I lose, I get an immediate rematch until I win. Third, no media can look me in the eye, or they'll be removed from the room. A headset legalized through the commission so I can call my own fights. No longer will I walk to the ring. I need to be carried. Keys to your least favorite Ferrari. I can Skype or FaceTime my fights if I don't feel like flying. And lastly, and it's non-negotiable, tell GSP to stop being such a dick. I'll return his truck when I'm done with it. Simply put, if you were in the UFC, what are some of the contract demands that you would make if you were a star like Sonnen and knew you had a little bit of leverage?
Oh man. Wait a minute. What are some of the moves I'd make if I were the man himself, the American gangster?
What are some of the contract demands you would make if you yourself were in Chael's position?
I've got to say, man, he probably has it nailed down right away. I'd ask for everything to be, under the table, of course. How much was he making on paper for that last fight against Jones? Like something like $14 or something?
Yeah, I think he made like $786 or something.
Yeah, I'd probably set up something like a front company so that the money funnels through it. You can launder that shit good. Something like a pizza place or something. Ross, I don't know, man. What would you want in your UFC contract?
Well, I am a Jew, so I would negotiate tremendously. I could ramble on and on for hours, but I don't think you want to hear the lawyer in me start speaking.
For me, I would just want, not only, but one thing that I would want for sure is a piece of the pay-per-view. I would want, GSP, he has this contract set up where he gets a portion of the pay-per-views, and I would negotiate for that portion.
To be honest, I agree with you. I'd want a portion of the pay-per-view and a big, hefty backpack. One of those little ones you find in your gym locker. Yeah, under the table.
That's right.
But, and a lifetime supply to Subway. It's my favorite spot.
Subway. Yeah, man.
I don't ask for much.
Italian BMT.
No doubt.
Bring back Chandela and Edith.
Oh, no. They were... Sorry.
That's it.
That's it. All right. And the last topic I want to get to, Chris, you're always awesome with those 3-second responses that leave us all like, was that it? Should we stay quiet? What's going on? Lastly, there was a mystery $1 million bet put on Chris Weidman in Las Vegas. Apparently it's being looked into. Before we talk about who you would bet on if you had to bet $1 million on any upcoming title fight, who did it? Was it Ross Finkelstein? Was it Floyd Money Mayweather? Ramses, do you have any thoughts, any leads on who made this $1 million bet? Was it Anderson Silva himself?
Yeah, obviously someone, I mean, if this is true that that a fucking bet of this sum was somehow made somewhere, of course it's never going to be directly tied to Anderson, but of course it came from somebody in the know. But it's like 9/11, man. You're not going to be able to follow this money. You're just not. That's the way it goes, I guess.
Well, for those of you that know me a little more personally, like some of these guys on this call right now, I've kind of got an actual, like, I have an alias on the internet. I'm not actually who I portray. I'm actually an actor. We've touched on it in the past. I really won't go into detail.
Yeah, man.
But
you don't want to give that out, man.
Yeah.
You sound like Christian Slater.
I'm not going to confirm nor deny that. I am a huge Weidman supporter, and I did believe in him. And I had a couple bucks lying around the house. So I went to Vegas. I flew to Vegas the other night. I put down some money, put down $1 million, and I made some money back.
Yeah, June money.
That's pretty amazing, actually. But Ramses is right. It was somebody in the know. You don't just bet $1 million on Chris, some guy from Long Island, to fight Anderson Silva. You don't just bet $1 million on somebody like that.
Whoa! Some guy from Long Island. Yeah, you're from the state of New York. This is one of two champions from your home state. You're giving him no love. Some guy from Long Island. What the fuck?
Yep, some guy from Long Island. You don't just bet $1 million on him to win the biggest fight of his life. All right, a life-changing win. You don't just bet $1 million like that. So it was somebody in the know.
You know, I was going to sponsor you with my new one money, but I'm not going to do it now.
Damn. It looks
Trust
like
me,
Ed.
you
I
need
mean,
to backing you up, yeah.
Yep.
It was Matt Sarah. He wasn't at the fight. He stayed in Long Island.
Oh shit.
Who knows?
Matt Sarah owes $1 million to the IRS.
No, son. Sarah runs the pasta game in New York City. There is not a single noodle that does not go through the Sarah Longo camp.
All pasta.
Yeah, there's a reason he stays in Long Island.
Chris, what do you think?
Well, I mean, it's not what I think, it's what I know, and I do know that Ross, a.k.a. Christian Slater, just admitted to it, so I'm going to go with the Fink.
Yes, everybody. He's definitely Christian Slater. He's that actor who was nominated for an Academy Award. Not any other actors who've been nominated for an Academy Award. Final thing I want to pass around before we close it out. If you could bet $1 million, if I gave you $1 million with the one stipulation that you had to bet it on any title fight coming up, which would it be? You can bet it on a champion. Yes, you can be really boring and say, Barao over Wineland or Mighty Mouse over Moraga or Jones over Gustafson. But if I have $1 million, I'm putting it on Johnny Hendricks to take down George St-Pierre. Ramses, who are you putting this $1 million on? Rousey, you got Kane Dos Santos. Hey, you know what? I'm actually going to rule out you can't pick Ronda Rousey, John Jones, Jose Aldo, Barao, or Mighty Mouse. You can't pick any of those five. Yeah. All right, well, you can't pick the obvious champions who are going to win. Jones is obviously going to win. Rousey's obviously going to win. Aldo, Barao, and Mighty Mouse. But the other title fights and other challengers you can choose from. I'm not letting any of you motherfuckers get out with an easy answer here.
Whoever the next person is that fights Chris Weidman, I'd put $1 million on them. If it's Anderson, which it more than likely will be.
Trolling like Yao.
If it's anybody else, I put my money on them too. Even if it were like a fucking Bisbee. That's my bet. Sorry, Ross.
Damn, you're trolling harder than Yao.
Yeah, I don't understand all the Weidman hate. It's a shame.
Fuck Chris Weidman.
But if I had to pick, it would be Weidman. I'm going to do it again. I already made millions on the last one, and I'm going to do it again and make millions on the next one. Same odds, too, so it's perfect.
Just joking. We love you, Chris. We would love you to be on the podcast one day. Happy face. Yao, who are you putting your money on? I have a feeling you're going with your boy George. Boy George.
Nope. I'm not going to pick him because we all know he's going to win that fight, so I'm not going to pick him. But what I'm doing with that $1 million is waiting for Melvin Guillard to reestablish himself in the lightweight division and take out the champion, whoever it is.
I'll allow it. It's my million. It's my stipulations. I will allow it. But if Melvin Guillard doesn't get into a title fight, you have to pay me $1 million.
Sure.
Done.
Oh, yeah, you usually have such good judgment. I one time thought Melvin Guillard would make a comeback. I remember my first UFC fight.
Yeah, but, it's going to be Guillard versus Shirk.
My money would go on Hendricks. I think I'd make a lot of money on that bet.
I got to go with the little tiny baby infant looking Gustafson. He's the first guy that's actually been John Jones's size and kind of lengthy and a very unorthodox guy, so I think Gustafson could take it.
Alex Gustafson going against what a lot of people will think pose an interesting threat to John Jones, will be a much more defensive fighter than a lot of people he's faced in the past. Thank you for tuning in to the MMA Podcast. Let me pass it around one last time for everyone to get in their plugs, starting, of course, with Ramses. Where do we follow you? What's the word on the street?
The Ant Jimmy Show on Twitter. It's going to change your life. I know half the people on this call are thinking about blowing their brains out. as soon as we're off this podcast. Don't do it, guys. Just stay strong. Keep following me. I will guide you, lead you to the light. Word on the street.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L, spell it all Jewishly. I've said this shit 10,000 times. You know what's up. Follow all these guys. They'll tell you what to do.
Yo, follow me on Twitter at Yao_the truth. Yao like Yao Ming _the truth. And Ramses is right. He's changing lives. I used to have cancer until I followed him on Twitter.
That's right.
What kind of cancer, if I could ask?
Brain cancer.
Holy shit, that's the worst kind.
The good kind.
Holy shit. Brandon, where do we follow you?
You guys can hit me up on Twitter at SurferGuy79792002.
Wait, if I could just...
Scratch the 2002, my bad. SurferGuy7979.
Hell yeah. Yao, did you have something to throw in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this whole time I did not know that you were a surfer guy. You tweet to me all the time. Wow, it's pretty cool.
Fuck yeah. And Chris...
Yeah, it's small world, huh?
Yeah, it is. Yo, Chris, last but not least, where do we find you on the tweeters?
Look, listen. You can follow me on Twitter at C. Lowenstein if you want a bunch of retweets and stupid shit. Or you can follow Yao the Truth and see a young man who is in remission from brain cancer train for a Grappler's Quest tournament. I would go and follow that guy.
A young lion, so to speak. Yo, we really thank you for tuning in. We're on Twitter, The MMA Podcast. YouTube us, or iTunes, The MMA Podcast. You can find us, TheMMAPodcast.com. Links for all that shit at the top. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you. I mean, I call everyone on the call my podcast family, and I really mean it. Every single one of you guys are cool motherfuckers, and I love chatting MMA. Whether or not I was doing this show, I would really enjoy. I've really enjoyed the first 51. Looking forward to the next 51. Cocksuckers, we'll see you next week. We'll see you tomorrow with the word on the street. And have a good week. Later on, cocksuckers. We go!
Back in the day when I was learning to rock in this mic, paying homage to the classic shit, dilated, undisputed heavyweights repping Los Angeles. And yeah, I do this for the 213, historical flip down.